And for more on this, we are joined by Behnam Taleblu, Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Behnam, it's good to have you with us. Real question. The Houthis are clearly being massively emboldened here. How strong are they? How big of a threat are they?
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you. Listen, the Houthis actually have the capability to act on a threat that they mentioned as early as 2017, which is their willingness to enter a conflict between either the Israelis and the Palestinians or Israel and Lebanese Hezbollah. As of 2017, the Houthis became the first proxy of Iran to have land attack cruise missiles. As of 2019, the Houthis became the first proxy of Iran to have medium-range ballistic missiles, meaning over 1,000 kilometers. And as you saw with the drones that have between 1,800 to 2,500 kilometer ranges, they also have suicide drones as well. When you level on top of that the Houthis are the only proxy of Iran to have both paraded and used anti-ship ballistic missiles rather than just anti-ship cruise missiles, this means they're a lethal, potent proxy that the Islamic Republic is slowly bringing online now, not just against Israel, but against commercial vessels and shipping in the Bab el-Mandeb and Red Sea, to be able to replicate the strategy that Iran has so long perfected between the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz.
Behnam, if they are attacking international shipping, this puts them directly within the remit of the United States Navy to protect international shipping. They are on a collision course with the most powerful military on Earth if they do that.
One would think that, but the chips are aligning slightly differently, both in the eyes of the patron, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and the proxy, which are the Houthis in Yemen. But this kind of mentality is congealing in the minds of the Iran-backed proxies in Lebanon, such as Lebanese Hezbollah, which basically runs most of that state, as well as the Assad regime in Syria, but most importantly, the militias that go between Iraq and Syria. Essentially, this coalition of forces called the Axis of Resistance believes America is on the way out. And regardless of Task Force 151 or all these other NAVCENT and CENTCOM task forces that exist within the CENTCOM area of operations, these guys believe that they can do a death by 1,000 cut strategy against the U.S. force presence in the region, to evict it from the region, and to have a freer hand against Iran's adversaries in the region, be it the pro-America moderate Sunni bloc in the region, like Saudi Arabia, as well as you know, against the Israelis. So their goal here is death by 1,000 cuts. And the fact that they have not been hit back directly, meaning the Houthis in Yemen, will only underwrite the next batch of escalation, most unfortunately.
Well, does that mean that the international community must act sooner rather than later, and will they?
Indeed, they must. There is already a robust architecture in place in the region, but we need more of it. And that architecture is a more integrated air and missile defense architecture, both on land and at sea, for U.S. forces and coalition or partner forces in the region to be able to track, detect, defeat, and destroy the entire spectrum of Iran-backed aerial threats, be it rockets, mortars, drones, cruise missiles, or ballistic missiles. But that is all deterrence by denial. We need deterrence by punishment, a response to the point of origin for many of these strikes. And until that happens, we won't be able to change the minds of both patron and proxy.
But despite that, no military forces fighting in the area, particularly in Yemen, have managed to uproot the Houthis yet. That does not bode well for more interventions.
It does not bode well for more interventions. There is much more the U.S. can do in terms of force protection for its own assets, which rushed in the most recent case that you led with today about the attacks on commercial and maritime shipping. We've seen this several times in the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz as well. There are ways to take out coastal defenses. There are ways to go after depots. But make no mistake, we're in a critical time right now. Washington needs to make sure it has the political will, military capability, and legal authority to make sure that it can continue to carry out these strikes over time.
Unchecked, the Houthis certainly have the capabilities to cut off global shipping, particularly oil trade. Do they have the ambition to do so?
Listen, you've even had Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps folks talk about as early as 2018, 2019, precisely using the Houthis to replicate that strategy that the Islamic Republic has against oil exports and the free flow of traffic across the Strait of Hormuz and Persian Gulf. So it would be no surprise to me if the Houthis choose to escalate their shipping. But one reason that they came online right now, and make no mistake, there is both patron and proxy here, is that Iran is looking to create multiple hotspots in the region, while insulating itself from any kind of kinetic blowback. And these multiple hotspots are designed to raise the risks of America continuing to stand with Israel as the Jewish state fights Hamas, and try to use the specter of a wider war to get America to enter and put the political handcuffs on Israel, a la a series of deconfliction agreements that you saw like in the 1973 war.
So what stops America from entering into some sort of kinetic blowback directly against the patron rather than the proxy?
Well, both the political impediment against responding kinetically to the patron and the proxy is in the very short term the same, meaning that the Biden administration currently believes that any attempt to signal resolve by punishment, meaning to deter them kinetically, would lead to another cycle of escalation, something the administration believes it can ill afford to entertain and politically has signaled that. The problem is when you have the capability to do so, but politically signal that you don't have the will to act on the capability, when you surge in more carriers, when you bring in more military assets into the region, the move becomes merely costly and self-defeating because the adversary is willing to gamble that you may have the capability, but not the resolve to use it.
Well, it's definitely a very grim situation if it is not resolved. Behnam, thank you very much for understanding the power dynamics in the region and also the political will and how that causes a crisis that we're seeing unfold.